start. And then, yeah, if I talk about blockchain, I have around 1.5 years of experience. So I started around uh, April last year, and it was initially basically self-learning, and then I joined. Actually, I was a student here at Pixeltest attending uh, Pandurangan sir's and Sripati sir's lectures. But now I'm given the responsibility and opportunity to share my experience and knowledge with you guys. So, so here I am. I did my graduation from Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, Mumbai, B in computer engineering, and then relevant to blockchain. I got certified from by the Pixel Test after completing the course. And here is uh, different medias through which you can contact me. So I'm available on LinkedIn and Discord, GitHub, and email. So feel free to drop a message. So Discord, if you're not aware, it's like Facebook for Web3 community. So if you're planning to devote yourself to Web3 and blockchain, I think you should be active on Discord. So a lot of Web3 related companies are basically they are super highly active on Discord. So yeah, you can ping me there as well. So okay, so before I start, can everyone let me know? I mean, how much time it has been since you joined uh, and the Pixel test? So I'll enable the chat for everyone. Just give me. Yeah, guys, it's 1, 2 months, 3 months. Just drop that just to get the understanding of the audience. Yeah, Tia, Tariq, Arindam, yeah, Satish, 3 months, great, awesome. Sadev, 3 months. Prashant, 2+ months. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Great to hear that. So I think in that case, you guys must have attended the initial modules which Pandurangan sir he has covered already. So it's a hackathon session. I'll be taking reference from his lectures and explain you the concepts. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And after 1 hour, there'll be short Q&A session, so you guys can post in your questions in chat channel, and I'll try my best to answer those questions. Yeah, thanks. So let me start the slideshow. Okay, so so this was the earliest way, or the initial way to kind of barter system was the initial way to exchange goods between the communities that existed in the ancient India or around the world. So it was basically if you had something or you needed something, you should exchange it for the things that you already have. So let's say, for example, I need a kilo of wheat or rice, and I already have I already have pulses. So I'll go and find someone who has wheat or rice, and I'll exchange pulses with him. So that was the one way. So commodity to commodity. There was no money system at that time, and it was not a problem back then because the community was very small, and with handful number of people in given villages. So that kind of system worked initially. So the problem, as soon as the community started growing and there was a lot of standards, and organizations started coming in, smaller organizations. So that time it started becoming difficult to reach out to correct matter in the given community. So you had to yourself go and roam around the village or nearby villages to find what you need. So that's the one problem, finding the right buyer for goods within time. And fractionalization was also not possible. Let's say you have a goat or a cow that you want to exchange, and you only need few kgs of rice or wheat. So you are not going to cut a goat or cow into half it and then give half to that person and get a rice or wheat in exchange. So that fractionalization was also a problem. And logistics or yeah, obviously, if you have, I mean, if the buyer, if the seller is he's living in some other village, you'll have to take your goat or cow to some other place and then get whatever rice or wheat that you need. So logistics, rationalizations, and also the scalability was a problem. It didn't work in the larger community. So that's why as the time progressed, people started with the currency system. So initially, uh, I mean, they started using metals to exchange goods, but initially the form was not in I mean, it was not in the form of coins, but it was called bullions. Basically, if you had uh, a kilo of gold or silver or other metals that were used at that time, so it was not in the form of coins. So whatever kg of gold or grams of gold that you have, you just exchange it with the commodity that you want. So, and then due to some logistics problems and again the fractionalizations problem, people came out with a way to uh, shape and forge the coins, and it was mainly done by the central authorities, whether it was the king or queen. So they had initially control over all the precious metal reserves in the given area. So they started forging these metal coins, and just to provide the trust, they also use various kind of stamps uh, to prove that this particular coin has been created or developed by centralized authority, and you can trust on that coin. So yeah, after that bullions, people started using coins. So if you, I mean, if you go and find it in a textbook around 6 to 7 century BC, people started metallic money in India. So instead of commodity to commodity exchange, there was a middle intermediary. So using these metal coins or bullion, peoples were able to exchange the commodities that they wanted to trade with other persons. Again, these metal coins, in terms of weight, they were very heavy to carry on. I mean, if you had very large transactions, you had to carry all the coins, metal coins or bullions, whatever you had. You had to carry it over to the seller's place and then get whatever you wanted. So again, the logistic problem was there in metallic coins. So after that uh, came fiat currency system. So fiat initially, uh, again, there was centralized authority that kind of printed these currency notes, but initially these currency systems, they were backed by assets. So for example, government of India uh, has printed 1000 notes, so there will be equivalent amount of gold that the government will buy from somewhere, and it will keep that in reserve. So that kind of currency was called asset backed currency, fiat currency. So yeah, initially every country or every authorities all over the world, they had been using fiat currency, which was backed by tangible assets. But as the time progressed, uh, people started, using these fiat currencies without any uh, asset backing. So if we have to look into the history, Switzerland, it was the last country to stop the practice of this tangible asset backing in 1999. So after that, there is no country that is kind of using this fiat currency, which is backed by any kind of tangible asset, whether it is gold or silver. So now we have to completely depend depend or trust the centralized authority which is printing or circulating the kind of currency. So if you have a look into any of the, let's say, 10 rupees notes, there is one small statement which says that I promise to pay bearer a sum of 10 rupees. So you have to trust that statement. I mean, if somehow that government or central authority goes default, uh, you won't be able to get anything out of it. I mean, it happened recently in Venezuela. If you follow the news, so there, I think the value of currencies, I think it came down drastically. So people were giving, kilos of kilos of these fiat currencies to exchange to get vegetables or other uh, edible grains. So that happened because of the centralization. So whole and sole authority of printing and the supply circulation of those currencies was there in the hands of few people who had the control over the printing of those currencies. So again, the problem with fiat currency was centralizations and lack of asset backing. We had to completely depend on the we have to completely trust the central authority who is controlling and owning those currency systems. So after that came digital fiat. It's not, I mean, it was not new, just a digital representation, representation of the money that is in circulation. So people were able to transact using various online applications from one account to another. So nothing new, just digital, giving people an option to transact online without actually going to uh, traditional banks that you have uh, nearby. So again, the control was there with the bank, the central institutions, and uh, since the control is there with one single institution, there is always a chance of digital cyber attacks. So in one of the research recently published, uh, it is predicted that the world will have to pay or incur $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. So already, I think the world is losing around $7 to $8 trillion annually due to these online cybercrime attacks, and mostly in India because uh, the adoption of these digital application or digital devices has very much increased in India. I mean, the in terms of percentage, now around uh, I think 30 to 40% of even the rural areas are equipped with digital systems. So and the required awareness around how to safeguard oneself when using these online applications or when doing these a financial transaction is not up to the mark. And that is the reason that cybercrime attacks in India has increased by I think, yeah, by large amount. So that is a problem because there is a centralized authority. If I mean, a hacker gets into the system of those centralized institutions, they are able to, get all the consumer related data or transfer the amount or money from one accounts to the account that they have the ownership. So yeah, again, the centralization problem is there with digital. I mean, it gives people an option and kind of feasibility to do transactions easily, but the uh, yeah, they are more prone to cyber attacks with at least this digital form of fiat currency. And after that, we have 2008 financial crisis that happened. So it not something it happened just in 2008. I mean, it was accumulation of various events that had been happening uh, over the last I think couple of years. So if you might be aware of internet bubble which burst in the year of 2000. So I mean, from 1990 to 2000, uh, there was a lot of investments going in internet related companies, and if you just had some domain name with you, people, the venture capitalists would easily come and give you money for whatever you're doing. They won't question what exactly you're doing, how what is the business model. If you have got the internet domain name, the people are ready to give you money so that you can start or do your business. So the bubble started forming there in the last decade of 20th century, and then finally in 2000 it burst, and a lot of these companies they went bankrupt. So this kind of led to the increase in the unemployment rate worldwide, especially in US, where this internet related companies they had accumulated a large sum of money. But after this bubble burst, the unemployment rate also increased, and it started increasing year by year. And in 2005, it reached, I think, the uh, uh, highest level. So as a result, um so the US Fed institution they took some form of action, which kind of financially in 2008 led to this crisis. So before that, I'll explain what is this financial crisis. By the way, guys, if you want, I mean, if I'm going very fast, you can drop a message here. I can slow down. It's a very bad way. Sorry for that. So can you guys just say yes or no, depending on if you're okay with my speed, you can say yes, I'm fine. Or just drop Y. Okay, fine. Thanks, George. Okay, Midans, thank you. Okay, okay, sure, thanks. So I'll continue with the speed. So the main problem was the proportion of subprime customers. It increased from 1.5% to 18% between 2006 and 2007. So first question that might arise is what is the subprime customers? So basically, there are categories of the banks. They categorize the customers based on their credit check. So prime, so in the first level of the or riskiest customers are the prime customers. So they have their uh, they have very high credit score. So it's less risky to lend loans or anything any assets to those customers because they have very good financial history. So generally banks lend those. I mean the percentage of loans that they disburse is higher for prime customers. But in case of 2008 financial crisis, if we see the percentage of loan disbursement, it increased from 1.5% to 18%. And because subprime customers are they are riskiest customers because they have the history of defaults or they have not paid their premiums in time. So generally, banks do not give sums or large amounts of money to these subprime customers. But in this case, they started doing that, and as a result, the percentage of subprime customer loans it increased to 18% in 2007 itself. So from 2006 and 2007, the percentage increased to around 20%. And then what they did, they also created bonds out of these riskier assets, and they sold it worldwide basically to different government institutions, different large venture capitalists, and so that's how this riskier assets got distributed all over the world. So this was a problem, and let's see how Fed contributed to this. So yeah, before the crisis, the bank interest rates were usually 3% higher than Fed rates. That means basically, I mean, if we have to take an example of India, so RBI gives loans to the central or private banks uh, at some uh, at some rate, right? So and then those banks they add a certain percentage of interest rate, and then they finally give it to our retail customers or corporate customers. So I mean in US before the crisis, the banks, the central banks or private banks, they used to charge 3% and then pass the loan to the consumer. So initially the Fed they had interest rate around 6%. So add 3% to this. So the banks they were lending loans at 9% interest rate. So this was the situation before the crisis. They offered loans only to prime customers, low risk customers, because they have very high good, I mean very high credit score. So it was less riskier to give loans to those customers. And interest rate was standard and collected on periodic basis. So this was the situation before the crisis happened in 2008. And let's see what triggered. The Federal Reserve decreased the interest rate from 6.7 to 1.7. So RBI, let's say, here we say, I think we have the term called repo rate. So this is the rate at which RBI lends money to the central and private banks that are there in India. So, so at that time, Federal it decreased the repo rate, so-called repo rate, from 6.75 to 1.75. Obviously, it was not done in one single step. I mean, it happened from 2005, 2006 to 2007. So every quarter they reduced by zero point 0.5, 0.75 basis points. And finally, in 2008, by 2008, the repo rate it came down to 1.75. Now, the once common question may arise is why do they uh, decrease this from 6.75 to 1.75? So, and that's why I initially explained about the internet bubble bursting. So after that internet problem, I mean internet bubble burst, so unemployment increased, right? So the traditional approach or methodology followed by these RBI or federal banks is to increase the money supply in the system so that there is huge number of investments which can finally create a large number of job opportunities for the higher public. But yeah, so this was one reason that Federal Reserve they started decreasing the interest rate to increase the money supply. But uh, I mean the problem was, I mean they had never decreased the repo rate in the history and they never brought it down to 1.75 in the whole history of the world. Right? Just to handle this unemployment problem, I mean, in just 2 years, span of 2 years, they decreased from 6.7 to 1.75 years. So yeah, obviously it was a chain of events. They decreased interest rates, and then banks started lending to these high risk customers as well at low interest rates. So they once they brought it down to 1.75, the banks were able to give loans at, if you just add 3 to 1.75, so it will be 4.75. They started giving loans at 4.75 interest rate. So as a result, large number of people started taking loans various kind of uh, for various needs that they had. So if we have to look into this flow diagram. So initially they decreased the interest rate just to handle the problem of unemployment. And as a result, banks started lending to subprime uh, high-risk customers to increase the customer value and thereby maintain the margin. Yeah. So yeah, once they decreased the repo rate, the banks started giving higher and higher amount of loans to riskier customers. And after that, they also introduced this ballooning scheme. So what is this basically? Uh, so if you take a loan, initially you'll have to pay very lesser premium. But as the time progresses, after 1 or 2 years, the premium will start growing. It was introduced basically to help people who are jobless and they don't have any money at the current time. So with the help of this money, if they get the job, they'll be able to pay that remaining amount or remaining premium after they get the job or they get their business uh, started. So that's why they introduced this ballooning scheme. So initially they had to pay very less, taking loan because they had to pay very less premium for 1 or 2 years, which they could easily uh, do the payment. So yeah, this ballooning scheme was introduced, and as a result, demand for houses increased due to easy loans, and therefore, there's a simple logic, right? I mean, you had, let's say, 10 houses in your area, and suddenly people have got large amount of money in their hands. So everyone will try to get hands on uh, to those houses. But the number of houses they haven't increased. We only have 10 houses, but number of people uh, having the enough money to buy those houses has increased, and as a result, the the demand for the houses increased, and therefore the house price also shows, right? So, and then what banks did, they let the same high risk customers borrow more money based on the new revised value. So, because of this high demand of the houses, uh, high demand of the houses, uh, same banks, they give more money to their existing riskiest customers so that they can pay the difference which they have to pay after. I mean, initially when they borrowed from the bank, and finally when the price of that house is actually increased to some other level, maybe double or triple or 10 times difference. Yeah. So they allowed uh, to borrow more and more money to the same riskiest customers, and they also introduced, and I'll explain you what this is. They introduced MBS. It's basically mortgage based scheme. So this kind of led to double spending problem. I'll explain that, yeah, later in coming chapters what double spending is. So they started they created a different asset called MBS. It was basically a bond, uh, which was created based on these mortgages which people had taken, and these bonds were then I think they were they were bought by different government institutions, different investors, because these MBS schemes, they were giving very high interest rates to the institutions, so they were able to earn higher income by investing in these MBS schemes. So banks created MBS to attract investment and create an easy buy for repossessed houses. But eventually, what happened? The prices of these houses, it reached to a certain level and it saturated, and the demand for those houses, it decreased because people were not able to catch up with the increasing price of those houses. I mean, it reached to a level where people were unable to buy those houses even after taking loans from the bank. So, and as a result, the demand started coming down. So there were no one to buy these houses due to extremely high prices and the collapse of housing bubble. So basically, the bubble which has formed in last 3 to 4 years uh, by decreasing the repo rate by these federal banks. That bubble burst, and the banks were unable to pay the bondholders because the consumer themselves, they were not paying the premium because of the high high prices of those, or high premiums of those houses, revised house prices. And since these bonds were bought by all over, they were bought all over the world. Default of these banks led to global ripple effect. So everyone who had their money put in these MBS schemes or bonds, they basically lost their money, and the US government, they had to bail out some of the large banks just to save them from going default. So these were the chain of events which finally led to financial crisis, and which spread to all over the world, leaving no one affected. Okay, so this was brief on financial crisis. So yeah, the key problem in the existing. So why did it happen? If there was any possible way to kind of prevent this kind of situation. So yeah, one is obviously centralization. So when going through the evolution of money, we saw that, the control of whatever currencies that we had in the history, it was there in the hands of few people. So it was controlled centrally. There were few institutions who had control and responsibility of handling those currencies. So centralization was one problem. Sorry, yeah, centralization was one problem as a result. So because of mistake made by the federal bank, people had to suffer all over the world. So there was one single point of failure because of mistakes done by that one single institution, we can call it. The whole world had to suffer. So single point of control and single point of failure. Uh, this was one of the problems. And double spending. Obviously, if you see here, banks were already earning money by lending money to the customers. They were earning interest over those mortgages. And what they did, they created a new asset out of that riskier mortgages, and they sold it to everyone around the world. So you had 1 rupees and you gave it to two people at the same time. So that was the problem. And I mean, after one of the consumer defaulted, everyone in that supply chain or in that ecosystem had to suffer. So this was basically a double spending, using same money and giving it to uh, two consumers or yeah, two users at the same time. So spending more than one's capacity. This was on and fraudulent transactions. So yeah, initially the federal Fed did the mistake. They decreased the repo rate, and then banks, they created these riskier mortgage based schemes, and they distributed all over the world. So because of these central as well as federal banks, people all over the world, they were affected. Now this is the kind of timeline of how the blockchain technology or cryptocurrencies came into existence. So it was not that, I mean, it was not a coincidence that financial crisis happened in 2008 and then suddenly this cryptocurrency was launched. So there is a long history behind the invention of this Bitcoin token. So if you had to look, I mean, the main technology behind these cryptocurrency or blockchain is the cryptography. And people had been working inventing various algorithms and protocols very long back. I mean, 40 years before it, 1970, there were some scientists, Kurt and Chan, they created a protocol which is used for pocket network intercommunication using TCP/IP. So and then we had RSA public key crypto system uh, in 1978. So I mean, if I had to explain the technology behind these Bitcoin, that is blockchain, it's not that very innovative or a new way, but it has been there for very long. So I mean, if you have the coding background or coding related knowledge, you know that the main building block of these blockchain network is done by using array, not an array, using data structure called linked list. So this was the simplest technology which has been used in creating the blockchain. The only problem was that there was no way to prevent the double spending. Even if we had the blockchain technology or if you see the history here in 2004, no, not in 2000, 1998, one of the scientists came with the concept of bit gold, but he was not able to gain traction around the concept because he did not have the way to prevent the double spending problem. I mean, if you have one bit gold in your account or in your wallet, there's no way that the system can prevent you spending at two places or three places or multiple places. So that was the problem. I mean, blockchain technology was there, but the technology to prevent the double spending was not there. So in 2004, finally, scientist called Hal Finney, he came up with the concept called proof of work. So this was the, I think, breakthrough that kind of helped Satoshi Nakamoto to launch his crypto token in 2008. So he had been working on this project, I think 2005 or 6, from 2006. And then finally, he got the opportunity to launch his white paper in 2008 during the year of financial crisis. Sorry. And then in 2009, finally uh, he made the project live, and all the technicalities were live in 2009 after launching the white paper in 2008. So this is the short chronology of different set of events that finally led to the creation of blockchain and crypto tokens. So yeah, quick. Let's see the time. Yes. So this is quick overview of Bitcoin. We are not seeing blockchain as of now. Basically, it will be covered in the coming sessions. So Bitcoin is if you can kind of a use case of blockchain. You can say it like that. So using blockchain, he created a crypto token called Bitcoin, and these are some of the features of Bitcoin. So it is decentralized currency system not controlled by any entity. So he just removed the intermediaries, all the intermediaries. There was no need of human intervention uh, for any kind of transaction uh, in this Bitcoin network. So it was not controlled by any single entity. Anyone can become the part of that network. That was one feature. Obviously, he published that paper in 2008, and we still don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto was, whether it was a single or individual person or a group of persons. That remains hidden till now. So the technology became live in 3rd of Jan 2009. And first transaction that ever happened on that blockchain network, uh, it contained this message: the Times 3 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for the banks. So using this statement, we can kind of understand the aggression of Satoshi against these centralized institutions, and, and and this is the reason why people relate the origin and evolution of cryptocurrencies to 2008 financial crisis. And then we have, yeah, these are some of the other features: no intermediaries involved in transactions. See, all the methods and process are handled automatically by the code that he had written. So no human intervention required again, no double spending. With the help of that proof of network consensus mechanism, he was able to kind of prevent the double spending problem on this automated blockchain network. It's self-regulated system guided by its protocol. So whatever uh, he had defined using the code, uh, so that blockchain network is regulated using those protocols, and it's not in the hand of any one person to go and change the protocol. So I think till now there hasn't been any change in the core principle or core protocol which governs the uh, working of the blockchain network for Bitcoin. So that was again one good point here. And it's immutable append only ledger distributed across all nodes of the Bitcoin network. So again, one of the characteristic of the blockchain network is, I think you'll understand this point better in the coming session. Um, so as I said, I mean, if you're from computer background, you understand that the data is basically stored in the form of a linked list, and those blocks which are added in those linked lists are immutable. So you cannot go and change the data at any place, and that's why it is called immutable. And it's append only. That means that you cannot go and delete, let alone the changes. You cannot even remove the uh, or disconnect any block in that network.
you can only append a new block with new transaction that has happened in the blockchain network. So it's append only and immutable. You won't be able to change the data in the given block, and you won't be able to disconnect any block. I mean theoretically it is possible, you can disconnect it, but the kind of protocol that is there on the network, uh, it will automatically so sorry. Yeah, the kind of protocol and rules that we have, it will automatically detect automatically get detected, and it will be reverted. So yeah, that explains the immutability and append only feature of the Bitcoin network. There is no single point of failure because the servers are they are distributed across the world. So let's say if I want to join the network, I just have to download that Bitcoin package, Bitcoin network package, and just run it on our machine, on my machine. So and as a result, I think now there are millions and millions of uh, nodes running in the Bitcoin network, and there has not been any single event when uh, the number of active servers has come down below 80%. It has happened only once, and then also I think it was able to maintain that 80% threshold. So 80% of the servers were still live and all the transactions happening. So till now, in the span of 10 to 12 years, and this network hasn't gone down till now. So there is no single point of failure. Participants can mine, observe, and transact. Obviously, the if I uh, participate in the Bitcoin network, I have uh, the flexibility of choosing the role, whether I can be a miner or just be the part of that network and support the functioning of the Bitcoin network, and or else I can be a user of the network and do the transaction. So I'll explain the mining and transaction part later. This was quick overview on Bitcoin. And yeah, that's it. I think I was able to cover the content in 45 minutes. Now we have 15 minutes. I can take your questions if you have. So let me. Yeah, I think it is open to everyone, guys. Don't know, Sachi, can we also unmute if anyone has questions? Sachi or Saurabh, I don't know who is there from Pixeltest. Guys, can you hear me?
Hey, Shubham.
Yeah, hi. So if anyone has any question, just drop that in our chat. We can unmute. Yeah, I think Satish has said, I guess bank offer loan to subprime customers at high interest rates. Yes, Satish Daivasi Kamani. He has question. Hi, Saurabh, can you unmute him?
Yeah, I've given the access.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Good evening, Shubham.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yeah, Satish, I can hear you.
Okay. So I have a few questions. The first one is basically, right, whether it might be the currency, right? The paper note currency or digital currency. It has been mentioned like there is no asset backing. So what that meant actually?
Yeah. So I think I explained that. Sorry if you did not get it. So let me go to that slide. Fiat
Lack
currency.
of asset backing.
Yeah. So
The last point, right? Lack of asset backing.
Correct, correct. So initially, when we migrated from these metallic tokens to fiat currency, so what these government or central authorities did is that for every single note they printed, let's say they printed 1,000 notes of 10 rupees, so they have 10,000 rupees. So uh, they will keep equal amount of gold or silver, whatever they choose to. They will keep equal amount of those metals in their reserve, so that just to have a backup in case there is some problem with the valuation of the money, and something goes haywire with the valuation, people still can be, uh, given those amount of those equal amount of gold to them. So if I have, let's say, 1,000 rupees, and by some chance those the value of those 1,000 rupees goes zero, so government will be able to give me government will be able to give me 1,000 uh, sorry, gold, which is equal to 1,000 rupees. So that is what is the concept behind asset backing. But eventually they started stopping this concept, and the whole people had to trust completely on the centralized institution.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I will summarize. Like, suppose there are like 1 lakh crore is in circulation in India. That
Hmm.
means they should ideally have a backup of
1 lakh crore.
metal or coal or whatever the reserve for corresponding to that amount of
Yeah, correct.
money in circulation.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that is not happening.
yeah,
So that may be a failure of the centralized system. So,
yeah.
so this is not happening in the digital as well as the this one, right? Currency, but in the coin, like maybe the coin is made out of the metal, so that's how it got
Mhm.
balanced in the coins. Or
Correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you
okay,
had a gold coin, government had given you 10 gold coin, it already has a value, right? So
okay,
yeah, it has a economic store of value. But
mhm.
given the paper note, it does not have any value. We have to blindly trust on the government or centralized institution.
Okay. So now this is clear. Can you go to that last slide?
Mm, okay, this is the last.
Okay. So here, cryptographic key-based ownership.
Uh-huh.
Like the ownership is with everyone, right? It's a decentralized system, and each peer having the ownership, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What that, uh,
Ownership, yeah, it is regarding the funds. So if you have, let's say, in Bitcoin, you have access to, or if you own 10 Bitcoins, so that is basically uh, that is basically verified using cryptographic keys. So in the coming sessions, we'll learn about private and public key cryptography, and how the ownership is implemented using that cryptography.
so here maybe it's referring the private key or cryptographic.
Yeah, it's private key. Basically, everyone is identified using private key in
Yeah,
the.
and digital signature is one of the private keys, or
Yeah, digital signature is created using private key.
okay.
Yeah.
And transactions are irrefutable and immutable. Both are the same words, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Okay.
Once that is recorded in the blockchain network, no one will be able to remove it from that.
Yeah, and this one, right? Double spending issue will has been resolved by the blockchain, but how
Mm.
that lack of asset is lack of asset also has been resolved in the blockchain, or still
Uh,
that is open in blockchain as well?
uh. I think recently, I don't remember the. I think one of the crypto exchange, they had US dollar based USDC token they had given to the users. But
Okay,
yeah, but they later, I think they came up with algorithmic based tokens, and as a result, due to some I think the volume of selling those tokens increased, and as a result, the algorithm was designed as such. The value of the whole the USDC token which they had given to user, it came down to zero. and because it did not have any US dollar backing,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
people were left
might
with.
be right. Might be if there is a backing in the blockchain based currencies, right? Might be it will
Yeah.
become much more better. I think.
Correct. We still don't have that asset backing in even
Yeah.
in
So until
blockchain.
that asset backing comes up, right? I think blockchain will be predominantly used in the other things like supply chain or genomics or
Correct.
something else.
Yeah,
So until that asset banking backing comes, it is very difficult to sell to the customers like banking
Mhm.
customers. No,
Yeah.
that is one of the loophole currently it's having. I think.
But I think one of the problem is that
Yeah.
people generally they're not able to differentiate between crypto tokens and blockchain. So cryptocurrencies, they are just one of the use case of blockchain. We have got a lot of other applications of blockchain which have been running live all over the world. So I think, yeah, in
The
terms,
smart contracts you are telling, right? Smart contracts and other things, right?
yeah, correct. A lot of projects. You talked about supply chain, right? In supply
Yeah.
chain, there has been a lot of projects which are running, and they are built on and above the blockchain network.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
provides a.
we can broadly differentiate into two sectors. One will be like financial and one will be non-financial. So from my
Mm,
perspective, right, I might be wrong as well. So only I'm seeing the scope of non-financial based growth. There might be a lot of growth in blockchain in the next 5 years or in the next decade. But the
mm,
financial oriented thing, right? What is your perspective or the pixel test team perspective? How
mm.
it will be the future?
I think Bitcoin, which was the first crypto token, it is part of DeFi space only. DeFi is basically decentralized finance. So the only thing that Bitcoin intends is to have a transaction, uh, uh, I mean, to reduce the fees and time taken to transact globally. So let's say if you have some amount of INR and you want to send it to your friend in America, it kind of takes 2 to 3 days for you to exchange or transfer your money from one India to America. But with the help of these cryptocurrencies, which are borderless, you can transfer it immediately with,
Got
I
it, got
think,
it. So the money transaction will be one of the use case, right? In
yeah,
financial.
yeah. And
Okay.
that is, I think, Bitcoin is it is one of the most trusted network for financial transaction. And after that, we have Ethereum.
Maybe now there might be a Bitcoin currency might be a failure, but Bitcoin system or Bitcoin technology or the Bitcoin protocol
Mm-hmm.
still it's pretty strong and we can rely on that, right?
I mean, if you talk about the currency, Bitcoin is the most trusted currency because
No,
it
but
was.
there is a drop, right? Recently there was a fall, right? And
Yeah. That is because I think whole ecosystem is there is a bit of decreased trust in these kind of cryptocurrencies. So as a result, all of the currencies that we have in crypto space, they are down. But it's just a matter of a few months. I think they'll be back and uh, they back up to their level before this financial thing happened.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Satish. And yeah, anyone else, guys? I think George has any risk of crypto, as per your under any risk of cryptocurrencies collapse or risk of losing values of cryptocurrencies. So to your question, George, I think I mean, if you're talking from investing point of view, don't just go and put your money in any of the token. I mean, we have around if you have to go and check, we have more than hundreds of tokens that are listed on crypto exchanges.
Uh,
But
Shubham sir, yeah, sorry
sorry.
for interrupting. Can you repeat the question and along with the answer because not everybody might have read the question.
Uh-huh.
So can you repeat
Yeah.
the question and also answer? Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sachi. So I think George has asked one question. So he's saying that, as per your understanding, any risk of cryptocurrencies collapse or risk of losing value of cryptocurrencies. So I think yeah, recently there has been few events. For example, if you follow crypto space, FTX collapse. It's the recent one. So I mean the value of the tokens that they had given to the user, it came down drastically, and it lost around 80 to 90, I think 90% of its value in just matter of few minutes and hours. So so I think those kind of those kind of currencies are prevalent in blockchain space as of now. But yeah, as I said, from investing point of view, if you want to put your money in any of the cryptocurrencies or crypto tokens, you should do proper research and analysis of the how the project is actually working. I mean, what is their business model? What are they actually doing? So if I have to take an example, I think Polygon, which is uh, which is Indian unicorn. So they were one of the first layer one blockchain network. So they have their token or cryptocurrency called Matic. So it is not designed mainly for a transaction and all. So main purpose is to help developers in this ecosystem create faster to increase the transaction speed in the Ethereum network. So that is one of their motto, and they have I think made partnership with a lot of existing Web2 companies. So if you talk about Reddit, if you talk about Nike, so all of these companies, they are building their building their space with the help of Polygon. So this is how you can, find out if the project is actually relevant to the blockchain space. Just and then yeah, if it is working that way, then probably you can invest your money into that token. So just if you just talk about the token itself, only project which can be trusted is the Bitcoin. And apart from that, the other projects that are there, you'll have to research and find if that is useful in long term or not. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, George. And there is second question from Naveen. No problem, George. Thanks. So Naveen has asked, going forward, most of the financial transaction will happen via cryptocurrency is 4C. Will there be cross cryptocurrency exchange possible? What is the limit of number of cryptocurrency? I could see many people there creating their own cryptocurrency. Will it create a mess? Yeah, I think you are right, Naveen. A lot of people or a lot of I think group of people, they are creating cryptocurrencies for the sake of it. There's no actual use case of that currency. So you should be away from these kind of crypto projects which don't have any. I mean, they don't have any real use case in real world space. So you should be away from that. But and coming back to your earlier question, will there be cross cryptocurrency exchange? I think that it is already there. If you have heard of Uniswap, it's basically token swapping platform. So if you have, let's say, a token from Polygon, and you want to swap it with Bitcoin, you can easily do it on Uniswap network. So the only problem right now is these crypto exchanges are centralized. They are not built on blockchain because of the limitations of a blockchain right now. So currently these blockchain networks are not able to perform more than 1000 transactions in a second. And to build a crypto exchange on top of a blockchain network won't be possible right now because of this limitation. And as a result, whatever the crypto exchanges that we have running live in the world, they are centralized crypto exchanges. They just help you swap crypto tokens, but they themselves are centralized. So that's why we are seeing a lot of problems with crypto exchanges. FTX collapse, and recently Terra Luna collapse. All these exchanges are there centralized, created centralized way, and that's why there is some kind of lack of transparency in terms of how they handle user funds. So that's why due to current limitation, these exchanges are not trustworthy except for few. But yeah, in coming years, I think people are working on to increase increase the this transaction speed on various blockchain networks, and I think it's just a matter of few years before when these exchanges will be live and running on blockchain network. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Naveen.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to you as well. Any more questions, guys? I think we have, yeah, we have already, it's been 5. If no more questions, we can close the call then.
Yes, sure, Shubham sir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for all the valuable inputs and such an engaging. I hope everybody's queries were answered. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just to iterate, next session would be, I'm asking you, Shubham sir, next session would be on the third module, right?
Yeah. It's so you can visit visit that third module. I think it's covered wonderfully by Pandurangan sir, and then yeah, you can come and attend this session.
Yeah, sure. So, for the attendees, we'll be going in that sequence. So it requires for you to, this hackathon is helpful in understanding module 1. Please go through module 2 by yourself. Then next time we'll be covering module 3. So ideally you also cover that. So if any doubts are there, you can, come to Shubham sir and get them answered. So we'll go in that sequence, and then later on we'll also cover the rest of the modules.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shubham sir.
Yeah, and a few more questions actually, like whether these slides will be shared to us or.
Yeah, so these are already available on Teachable, but if not, also we are going to add them again back, in the hackathons also.
Because
right?
so
you
far
can
I
find
haven't accessed that Teachable. Actually, I went to that school and I have seen that orientation hall of fame, something
Sure,
like that.
sir. We can connect offline. So you can let us know if you have joined recently. We'll help you with how to access Teachable.
Yeah, sure. Through
Sure.
Telegram or how to connect with you?
Yeah. So can you just leave your email ID in the chat to the team?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I think Vishwanath has some question, Sachi.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, I see that you also have other sessions going on. So if at all you have the time, if you can take this one question, we'll take that, and then we'll. So if it's possible, we'll take the question.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, is that Shubham?
Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I was just doing a mic check. Okay, great. Thank you very much for the session, Shubham. It was really wonderful, and some of the questions I wanted to ask, they've already been answered because someone in the forum has already put forward that.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all that. The reason I just wanted to speak right now is somebody just addressed that they were not able to access Teachables. So I went through that on the first initial 1 or 2 days itself. So I basically got help, and I just want to clarify. I think there's some sort of what you call just a labeling or the domain that I think you say it's Teachables. As soon as you actually input that, it translates to a different domain, which is Pixeltests or whatever. So ultimately, the Teachable, what you call or what you refer as Teachables, I think what I've observed is it translates itself into Pixeltests or whatever. So I believe it is actually the same link, which says school.pixeltests or .com or whatever. So right at the bottom of the screen and there was also a confusion about which modules were for blockchain and which modules were for AI. So I think that was also a confusion. It is basically those guys who have actually joined blockchain, I believe they have only access for blockchain modules. But since they can actually see the AI modules, That's where I was actually confused, and I was not able to access those modules at all. So I was wondering if that was actually a part of the curriculum or not. So I just wanted to say that the Teachables, whatever website is there, ultimately it gets translated to some school.pixeltests.com. I'm not sure if you're catching what I'm trying to say, but
No, I think you understood, Vishwanath sir. So thanks for clarifying. So
Okay.
for everyone, so basically Teachable and the school.pixeltest.com are actually one and the same. So so what happens is, even if you are already accessing school.pixeltest.com, that is the LMS, that is the learning management system. So you're on the right track.
Okay.
Even if you have the old link, so the earlier link said it teachable.com/pixeltest. Now it says school.pixeltest.com, but both of them will take you to the same LMS. So I think if that is the confusion, thanks for clearing that, Vishwanath sir.
Oh, at least that was a confusion from my side, but I understood that
I
later.
think that is in interest for others also. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Shubham sir. So we can conclude this session. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. Let's meet in the next section. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.